Wacky waving inflatable arm flailing tube man. Wacky waving inflatable arm flailing tube man. Wacky waving inflatable arm flailing tube man.
What's up, my fantastic friends? Welcome back to the channel. I am the Crow Lector, and on today's video we're going to be taking a look at two of the new figures from the Marvel Legends Fantastic Four First Steps movie wave. As you can see here, we have our two fantastic friends themselves, Mr. Fantastic and Ben Grimm, aka The Thing. Now, I've had these guys in hand for a couple days now, and I'll be honest, at first I wasn't quite sure of what to make of them because, all in all, they are rather simplistic figures, but the more I really messed around with them, the more I really grew to appreciate them. And without overusing the term, these guys really are fantastic figures. It's been, gosh, I don't even remember how long since we've gotten MCU movie figures before the movie came out. So of course I had to capitalize on that while I still could. So without further ado, let's get into these first couple figures and see what makes them so good. We'll start first with Reed Richards himself, the leader of the team. I believe it was the infamous scholar Shaggy who said, "Mr. Boombastic, call me Mr. Fantastic." Now, I might be paraphrasing a little bit, but I think the message is clear. Mr. Fantastic, with the ability to stretch any one of his limbs, and yes, you heard me, any one of his limbs, to his heart's desire. This time played by the current Hollywood heartthrob, Pedro Pascal. And as you can see, just straight off the bat, this is a very good likeness of Pedro Pascal from really any angle you look at him, above, under, side to side, straight on. I mean, there is no denying that this is Pedro. The face printing is just so nice. And the sculpt, of course, is beautiful too. You have a bit of that kind of classic wry smirk that Pedro, I would say, is known for. He's a very charismatic guy, and I'm really excited to see what he can do with Mr. Fantastic, because Reed, you know, he's not always the most charismatic guy. He's a big nerd, and so even though Sue loves him, I wouldn't exactly say he is a ladies' man. So I'm excited to see how Pedro changes that, or if he changes that, or if he just decides to be more of that old-timey Hollywood smooth-talking guy. Of course, we have the nice classic Reed Richards white on the sides there. I mean, truly a good sculpt. Now, I will switch out the arm here, and while I do that, we'll take a look at the packaging. Now, I really like this new packaging for the Fantastic Four wave. You get a nice kind of off-white cream color for the package itself. Not quite as white as the white on the costumes. I do think that's probably what they were going for, but I dig it. It's kind of like an eggshell white with a nice kind of navy blue-esque lettering. A really nice art of the character on the side there. And that's where you can see, I mean, they didn't quite go for the exact same head style there. This one's more of a smirk, whereas this is more of just kind of like a nice warm smile, as we have come to expect from Daddy Pedro. And then on the back, you get the nice full-bodied art of that same shot on the side. And I really like the personalization. As you can see, you have the 4 different character insignias, so to speak, with the Thing, Invisible Woman, Human Torch, and a nice swirly with Mr. Fantastic, which does change, of course, on the front of the box. This being Mr. Fantastic, you get his nice swirly arm, a nice 4 logo on the top, and even, it's really cute, kind of an old-timey retro Hasbro mascot there. I don't know the mascot's name, if it even has one, but very reminiscent of the days of old. And then I'll show you on the inside of the packaging here as well. If you take out the inner sleeve, you have more of the insignias too, which I think would make a really nice backdrop display. Yeah, really, really cool. A lot of effort went into the packaging. You can tell because it's not just the same kind of basic colors, basic plain backdrop that we often see with these Marvel Legends figures. They really did differentiate them, which is really, really nice to see. But here we have Mr. Fantastic sans powers. This is just regular old Reed Richards. If you looked at him, you wouldn't even know that he was a superhero. Sculpt-wise, rather simplistic. You know, the original team uniforms for the Fantastic Four in this movie, not the most intricate uniforms, but I kind of like that. It really works for that retro futuristic look. I mean, this is basically, I think, just like a sweater and some pants, but at the same time, it kind of keeps that like cosmic feel that they're known for. You know, I think it kind of takes place in like an alternate 50s, 60s-ish era. So very much like that space race kind of feel. So you have the nice lines on Mr. Fantastic, the sweater, and it does look like a sweater. You know, you have the kind of turtleneck there. You have almost kind of like reminiscent of little straps here. Nice gloves as well. And these little pops of like white and black are what I really, really like. It really helps them stand out a bit. And then I believe these are their communicators on the side. Now, something to note, not only for Reed, but for all the figures, is that this communicator is a separate piece. I don't know if you could see that, but it just came flying off. Depending on how it's set on the figure, I mean, you can push it on pretty well, so it's not going to really move unless it loosens up a bit. But just something to note as you are swapping the hands on these guys, make sure not to lose the communicator. I guess you could always just go ahead and glue it on if you really wanted to ensure that you're not going to miss it. Then a nice black and white belt. Black and white on the boots here. Blue on the bottom. So again, very kind of reminiscent of like almost like space casual, I would say, because you get sort of like astronaut space boots and gloves, but then everything else is very, everyday, retro-futuristic again. I don't quite know the word for it, but I really like it. It's really kind of striking in its simplicity. And with Reed, you get a lot of like straight lines on things, which, I don't want to look too much into it, but maybe like in the costume maker's mind, it's like an allusion to how like straight and narrow Reed can be, or very long lines, because he stretches. Have some nice wrinkling as well, just again kind of giving the notion that these are more like plain clothes than just like your average tight kind of bulky armor. As far as articulation on Reed, you have the classic Exorcist swivel hinge. He can get a decent amount of looking up, not quite as much looking down. No butterfly joints, but he does have a decent amount of movement on the arms. A swivel hinge on the upper arm, double elbows, which is very nice. You can have him, stroking his beard. No swivel at the glove, but you do of course get the swivel hinge on the arms. Ab cut, not much going forward or back, just a little bit. He does swivel at the waist though. Your pretty typical standard leg articulation. Swivel at the thigh. Double knees. And it looks like he's playing soccer there. And then the swivel hinge on the boot. But what would Mr. Fantastic be if Mr. Fantastic did not stretch? And that's where his other accessory, and really main accessory, comes in. Now, in order to change, you just pop off the arms. And I will say, luckily, these arms are very easy to pop off. Not so easy that, they're going to like wobble around, but they made it so that the peg, I don't know how well you can see, but the peg doesn't like fan out too much. So you can easily pop them in, pop them out. And the same on the two stretchy arms here. You just pop it in and you're set. And here we have Mr. Fantastic in all his stretchy glory. Now, stretching technology on figures, I think, has come a really long way, at least since I was a kid. When I was a kid, this would definitely be like a soft, kind of rubbery, rubber, not plastic. You know, if you ever had any of like the old DC like Clayface figures, or I think even the original Mr. Fantastic figure from the 2004, 2005 movie, had sort of like really stretchy, pliable, whereas these ones are a much thicker, I don't know if you can hear that, but a thicker, more plasticky rubber. If you have the No Way Home Doc Ock, I think you know kind of what to expect. And they do require a little bit of force, but not too much. You can bend them any way you see fit, and they are going to hold nicely. I don't really think you need to worry about them drooping at all. As you can see, it's really holding its shape. The only thing I would worry about is if they're in maybe like a hot room, maybe then, you know, they might start to sag after a while. But he gets some really good range here, as you can see. How long is that that wingspan? Let's see here. So they're bent a little bit, but from tip to fingertip, it's about a solid foot, 12 inches. I mean, if you get this guy spinning fast enough, he could probably take off. Now, obviously, being kind of a stretchy material, there are no joints on the arm. It does kind of look like there might be. You have a little cut in the plastic here, and then at the wrist too. So it looks like they would move, but they don't. Same with the other side, of course. Luckily on this one, the communicator is part of the sculpt, so you don't have to worry about losing this one. If I had any like kind of small nitpick, I think it would be just the hands. You get a nice kind of open grabby hand and then kind of a grippy hand. So you got the grippy grabby. It would have been nice, I think, if we could swap out one or both for the fists, just to get him in sort of more of like a fighting look. But I mean, it's by no means bad. He still looks really cool, just really in any pose you can get him in. With figures that have sort of elongated or larger limbs like this, like, you know, the Sandman figure from No Way Home, they can sometimes look a little unnatural because, you know, we're not made to stretch and morph like that. But on this one, I think it looks really nice, and I think it might just be because they only gave us the arms. Obviously, we see him stretching his waist in the movie, his legs as well. Again, all of him can stretch. But for this first figure, I think it was wise that they only went with the arms. I remember having that original movie read back in the day where you could swap out like every single limb and joint of his. And while it was admittedly very cool, there was absolutely no way to stand that guy at all without some sort of stability, some sort of stand. So while he looked really cool, and of course with playability, not so much just sitting on the shelf. Whereas this one, you can have just kind of standing around. He's not going to topple over. He can support his weight. I think Hasbro made a very smart decision in that regard. But it is called the Fantastic Four, and Reed cannot do it all by himself. So here's the thing. No, seriously, here is the thing. Ben Grimm himself, looking much larger than his nice human counterpart. A lot of people think that Ben kind of got the short end of the stick, or I guess big end of the stick in this regard, losing much of his outward humanity. In the movies, his size has been very different with each interpretation. I do like this one, where he's not like so freakishly huge that he looks kind of Hulk-ish, but he is obviously big enough that you can tell he's not very human anymore. And I was a little worried when obviously these figures were first announced, we knew they were going to be doing a thing, because how can you not? And I was a little worried that they might make him a deluxe. With Hasbro, you never quite know what's gonna qualify as a deluxe, what's gonna qualify as just a regular figure. If they wanted to, I think they obviously really could have given us a deluxe version of this guy. Hopefully they would have thrown in an extra accessory or two, but you never quite know. Because with a sculpt like this, there's really only one character that you can use it on, which is the Thing. So I'm glad that they didn't go that route. Very, very nice on you, Hasbro. Here we have his packaging. Now, he does take up pretty much the entire package when he is in box, which is very, very nice to see. You know, these days, more and more, it feels kind of like we get less and less in packaging, and we get kind of more and more negative space. And even though he does not come with a whole lot of accessories himself, you know, he fills out the box very nicely. And as you can see, you have his nice, powerful Thing fist, his four-fingered fist. And the figure itself, very, very nice. With these sort of kind of orangey, tanny, rocky or sandy figures, you know, like with the No Way Home Sandman, sometimes you do risk these figures looking a bit like fried chicken. I'm pleased to say that I'm not very hungry looking at Ben. I don't know if it's just because of the more rocky nature, so that kind of cuts down on the chicken aspect of it, or maybe he's just very, very breaded and very, very deep fried. Either way, I don't feel my tummy rumbling, so we're good on that. I do really like this head sculpt as well, the very pronounced upper brow, which we sort of got on the other interpretations, but this one is very classic Thing, very Jack Kirby-esque. The rest of him, you know, you could kind of leave off the head, and you could like put on the Michael Chiklis head on this, for instance, and it would still really fit, other than the colors. If you want to like paint the belt and pants there black, you could easily make this into a Chiklis Thing. But with that head, it is very much an MCU old-timey thing, you know? Other than that, the sculpt is very, very cool, very rocky, and they did take the time to make each of these unique. So it's not like he's really repeating anything here. And then similar to Reed, it has obviously very similar pants, but not quite the same. Using more of like the piping, the straight lines. That's another thing I really like about these figures, is that even though they have a very similar uniform, they did take the time to differentiate them. Obviously, between these two, you know, Hasbro could not have reused the parts, but they took the time to make the outfit itself different, which I do appreciate. Now, being a bigger guy, he's going to have, as you can imagine, a little less articulation than usual. I think it would have been really nice to get a butterfly joint on this, but alas, no such luck. He can, of course, T-pose, so you get a decent amount of movement there. A swivel hinge. There's not a whole lot of overlapping rocky parts that would keep any of these from rotating all the way. This is about as far down as his arms can go, so if you want to get them like straight down to his side, not really going to have any luck there. He does have a hinge, or I'm sorry, like a swivel here at his upper arm, and then the thing that makes him nice and unique from the rest is that his forearm can spin as well. It can, of course, you know, swivel hinge, but you can get this guy all the way around, which that's where, you know, some of the extra like movement really comes in on the Thing. The other figures obviously don't have that. They just have the cut at the top and then the double elbow here, but no hinge at the glove. So even though he doesn't have quite as much range, he only has a single elbow, you do still get a fair amount of movement. And then, of course, a swivel hinge at his hands. Again, because he has swappable hands, you can pop this off. His communicator is a little bit larger, so you probably won't have as much trouble trying to not lose that, but just something to be aware of. It does have a nice bicep cut. Doesn't get a whole lot of movement though. A lot of side to side, but up and down, not so much. Well, I take that back. He gets a fair amount. He's puffing his chest out, showing a little bit of thin cleavage here. Forward, though, that's where you really don't get a whole lot. But of course, you could still have him bending down, little twerking that thing, you know. Swivel at the waist. He can do the splits and kick. He does have a swivel at the top of the thigh. He does, oddly enough, have a double knee, which is very nice and helps with posing. And then he does have a swivel hinge on the foot, but the foot, at least on mine, not a whole lot of frontward movement, a little bit more backward movement, ballerina thing. But it's really those double knees that are going to come in handy if you want to get him in some cool fighting battle poses. Now, accessory-wise, he really didn't come with a whole lot. There's really only room for the 2 fists, and then he comes with the 2 kind of grabby arms. This steel beam, I don't remember exactly what it came with. I want to say maybe a Hulk thing or a Magneto thing. I don't remember exactly. But because he comes with so little, you are going to have to spruce him up a little bit if you want with accessories from other things. But I really like this steel beam. Weird as that is to say, it looks nice. All in all, these are a very good way to start off the wave. You can get some really, really cool, interesting action poses out of these 2. And, of course, the likeness to both is fantastic. I have a feeling I'm going to be using that word a lot over the next couple reviews. Obviously, not quite as difficult to capture the likeness of the Thing because he is mostly a CGI character, but face printing just keeps getting better and better on these Hasbro figures. I'm really, really excited to get into the other ones to see how good they are. But man, what a way to start off the wave. I cannot wait for the new movie. Just a couple more weeks now. I believe, yeah, this is the 4th attempt at a different Fantastic Four reboot. So hopefully the 4th time is indeed the charm. Let me know what you think in the comments below of Mr. Fantastic and the Thing here. Are you going to be picking them up? Are you going to be waiting until after the movie? This is, of course, Marvel's first family, so it feels like they are necessary parts of the display. Keep your fingers crossed with me, guys, that we finally did the Fantastic Four right. I am cautiously optimistic with them being back in the hands of the MCU proper, but you just never know. Let me know in the comments below, if you were the secret 5th member of the Fantastic Four, what powers would you want? And while you're down there, if you could go ahead and like and subscribe to the channel, it would really help me out. I love doing these videos for you guys, just talking about nerdy things that bring me a lot of joy, so I would love to be able to continue to do that. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I'll be back soon with more creepy Crowlection content. But in the meantime, don't forget, stay spooky.